What's up, guys? Welcome to the little webinar that we're going to do on the trend lines. A lot of you guys are having issues after the TOS update where the lines from the, say, 3-day 1 minute, 5-day 1 minute, 1 day 1 minute are giving you issues. They're not snapping anymore. They're scaling all wrong. Blah, blah, blah. So we're going to go through a concept right here on how we're just going to skip most of the beginner lessons and go right into the advanced stuff on chopping candles and cutting. We're going to go through some live examples of how I'm going to set up the 4-hour and the daily trends. For my picks, we're going to start with clear charts everywhere, okay? First things first, this is how we're going to set up everything that has to do with the 4-hour system, trend lines, and to try to find a workaround. We're just not going to use the overlays at this time until TOS gets their shit straight. So we're going to end up using the 4 hours and the short-term trend lines on the first red candle, 15 to 30 minute open system. We're going to go over all that right now. So let's go. First step, it's going to be Amazon. Already on it. So first things first, whenever you're charting out for the day, we're analyzing pre-market. The first thing you want to do is set out your highs and lows, right? So the bottom of the pre-market channel is about here. Top of the pre-market channel is essentially pre-market's close because of this big nasty candle, right? I'm going to color these the light blue that I usually do. And once we get that done, set our opening price, 1740.24. Close enough. Amazon's ticks are not going to be dead on. We're going to change that to our opening price line, okay? We're going to hop right to the 4-hour. Now, this is where things get sometimes a little complicated going from very far back time frames, right? So we have our pre-market channel because we're trying to make a plan of attack for this day, right? So we're going to have to find some interaction points that the algos are looking at the 4-hour charts at these levels. So what we're going to do is grab our trend. I'm going to do this two ways. I'm going to go from the absolute highest point, because we're going to be skipping right to these lessons up to this one, and we're going to cut through, and I'm going to find the most interaction points for pre-market, right? So this is what I'd be looking at. As I'm dragging the trend line here, and I'm seeing where things start to line up, and as you can slowly tell, make sure you're in the pre-market channel right here, right on the screen. So make sure you're not down here just finding upper trends. This is the wedge we're working with, so the algo is going to be paying attention to this 4-hour candle and where these things line up at. So right off the bat, just looking at the 4-hour, I have some great wick interactions, splits, and a lot of touches right here. Looks like it's a little high, and looks like the rejection point of our pre-market channel, so I'm going to move it down just a tad bit, right? I'm going to start chopping a couple candles off while I do this, but I'm going to start looking for major interaction points at the same time. Now that we're at the bottom of the channel, we kind of see this is where the lowest point of the channel is for pre-market. Now, when you go up and down, you can see, correlating this top wick right here, we have pretty much an exact top on our pre-market channel. And then the lowest part of the pre-market channel, we do have a nice interaction cut here and here. So somewhere in the middle of our pre-market action here, we're going to try to find some correlating lines. So I'm going to draw one because these things aren't going to snap correctly anymore. So we're going to go to I like this one right here. There's a better average line after that wick right there, right here. So I'm going to pick the top of this channel right there. Okay, that's the first one. And the next one, we're going to use this one. We're going to draw through, and we're going to use the tops, cutting off the tops of this wicks right here. Okay, I like this big interaction. We have green better average, slice off here, wick interaction here, and a big rejection candle here. We're going to move to the 1-day 1 minute chart, right? And then we're going to kind of see how these 4-hour lines lined up. And as you can see, a couple of them slice right through the pre-market channel here. And got us a nice little average to work with. So as it got weak and gap down, this 4-hour trend obviously is not going to be into play anymore. Market pulling down, you're going to wait for this 4-hour trend to come into play. And as you can see here, we do have some decent interaction points with the 4-hour on Amazon, and you know, we have a nice double top and confirmation weakness on each point on the 4-hour trend, something you should have been seeing. And within the first 15 to 30 here is 9:30 on the timing chart. We're going to look for the highest red we have, and we're going to slice it through our first lower high right here. This is going to tell us where it's going to start pulling away for a long reversal play. And Amazon's a little harder. This is why I'm starting with this one. It's kind of a chop fest, big range. Our lowest red candle, and we're going to slice through some true lower highs right here. Get that wick interaction pretty much right there. And you can see right here where I crossed through a little bit of this one and then picked up that by the penny. That's a good average between those, and that's where we're going to look for the confirmation of weakness. Now, again, in the first 15 to 30 of the open, we're going to look for the highest red candle. That's going to tell us our reversal long, and the lowest red candle is going to tell us our short potential plays. Now, it has to be your low striked through a true high or low. So that could be this one if you're waiting for your first 15, or even like this one back in here. You can cut them a little earlier if you want, say something like this. And as you can see, you picked up the weakness rollover right here for confirmation short on Amazon. Not bad, but I'd like to give it a little bit more time to set up. The top ones, it's going to tell you reversal times to go long. So this one's cut a little bit short right before the 30. You can see as it's cut down, it comes back, hits the trend line, rejects, hits the trend line, rejects, comes back up, breaks through. Now we're on the top side. Comes back down, holds trend for a while, holds trend for a while. But as these are basing right here and creating higher lows off of our trend line and starting to pop, you would instantly draw this trend line right here and strike that and be like, okay, well, now we already have all of our long entries. We pull back, we waited for the pullback, we waited for the confirmation of strength. That's the entry you're looking for to go long here. And then if you want to extend some of the time frames a little bit on our short term, so we're going to look for a confirmation of weakness. We're going to take our top red line, slice it through another true lower high. If we missed any of the other moves, I'm going to extend it to the right. And we're going to see if we can get some confirmation on weakness plays here. And as you can see, when the trend pulled away up here, she started breaking down here, broke back up through the trend. Like I said, I like to catch these moves within the first 30 minutes because that'll tell you really what's going on. And utilizing both of these lines right here just for the overall aspect of the stock movement. We're going to be focusing on this big channel from the first low to higher low and first high to lower high, which is going to be this guy right here now. We do have cross interaction points when these things happen like this. It's going to come up and it's going to show us clear signals, and we got to use other indicators with these early trend lines to help us out, right? So the biggest thing you want to look for is something like this. This pocket right here is a 4-hour overlay working with a short-term trend line on a higher low or on a lower high setup right here, right? And same thing with here. So when these stocks come down, sets up, snaps the 4-hour, you can see the rejection a couple times here on the 4, comes back down, comes up to test it again, and gets over it this time and just test, lower high, test, lower high, test, lower high. It pretty much gives you a bouncing ball short to snap the 4-hour trend. But while you're creating these lower highs right here, you're instantly grabbing your wick, you're drawing your short. So before these candles even existed right here, you'd see this first rollover after this new lower high here, you know, starting to pop up in VWAP, come back down. You're like, okay, there's my first red, slice it through. You could have anticipated the short entry and confirmation of weakness here and break through the 4-hour and rode that down all the way. So a little bit of thesis on that and how to break down one of those Amazon trades. And we're going to set a few of these up and get some examples here as we go. Looks like the cam froze. We're just going to keep going on it. I'll probably edit that out then. Having some issues with the Gox Cam Link. We're just going to keep going with this. So as we go, we're going to do the same thing on Apple here, right? We're going to go to the 4-hour chart. We're going to go back to the 1-minute chart because we're going to set up our pre-market lines for our pre-market support. I don't know why my hotkey just did that. All right. So we got a pre-market low, we got a pre-market high. Change them to my appropriating color of choice, whatever works for you, change it to that. And then to the 4-hour. Now we're going to start right into the advanced slicer candles again, trying to get a better average algorithm read off of this. I'm going to use the top existing red. I'm going to slice that through. I see my pre-market channel right here, right? I'm like, okay, all we know is this first 4-hour doji. This is the pre-market one we're looking for. So I'm going to start looking for the best reaction through these levels. And I'm going to, already I see the top of this one. I see a big rejection here, down to the penny here. Nice support hold here. Reject, we got support on this, we got a ton of interaction. We have major interaction and rejection here. You know, big one right here, inverse hammer, upside down, found a lot of resistance, popped up, doji, didn't know what it wanted, broke through, rode this trend for quite some time in the chop consolidation, gave us some big moves, popped up. Overall, this is a very good interacting line, and it comes right into our pre-market top, right? Great. So we're going to grab another. I'm just going to do another layover, and I'm going to try to get maybe a bottom one on here and get a better average line, right? So now I have two better average lines. I have this slice. A better average is when you get a lot of interaction where the, again, tip connects to the candle, right? Like the wick of the candle and the body of the candle, pretty much the opening price. That's going to be our better average slice through. We look for those a lot of the time. So now we're on the top and bottom here. We have our interaction points lined up with the quick 4-hour. I'm going to come through, and I see right away on the 1 day 1 minute that we have some clear interaction points coming up here to work off of, right? So on Apple here, it's obviously looking weak. We were trending down in pre-market. We have the 4-hour overlays on the top and bottom of pre-market on the 4-hour, which gives us this average right here. And now right away in the pre-market, I can see it had a bunch of resistance at the 4-hour right here, came back down, tested it down to the penny. Both of these times perfectly rejecting, coming back down, couldn't even get up to the rest. So you could easily see the bearish sentiment in pre-market here on this trade. And as we're going to break down the first red candle moves for the day, we're going to grab our red here. We're going to slice. This is pretty much our true lower high, right? We're going to extend that to the right. Not too many moves to be had on this one. Then we're going to look for our short play. We're going to grab the lowest red, strike it through our higher low, extend that to the right. Then we're going to have some confirmation of longs and shorts. You could extend it a little bit past the first half hour if you want. There's a lot of consolidation on this one. This is where you're going to have to start practicing the range and how to play these lines, right? To extend it up a little bit. So it's like, well, you do have, you know, a big interaction on these wicks right here. So we're going to look for these interaction points. We got to find these before the algos, you know, dictate what's going to happen. So like this guy right here, this and this guy right here, right? There's this little whipsaw doji rejected the 9, came back down, touched and touched. So this is, you could leave this on for a confirmation weakness. It couldn't even get up to that high, and even on the top trend here on our short term off the first red and off this lower high, we couldn't even get up there either. But if you notice, one thing we did get up to perfectly is that 4-hour trend line, right? Correct. So now that we have these short-term trends in life, we got this nice kind of alligator mouth working out. We have these trends that had broke up, came back down, gave us a weak test here, gave us a weak bounce to confirm weakness, and broke back down and gave you an awesome short play. Now, you pretty much had the overall sentiment from pre-market on Apple here because the 4-hour trends were telling you this was going to be a short play, right? Just looking at pre-market, you can see the double rejection, the pop, the fail. Again, you always wait for the retrace. If you would have missed this short because it didn't get up to the 4-hour, if you don't want to take it on the 100 EMA, reject it, pop back down. You set your lines, and all you had to do is wait for a retrace. You can use the short-term trend lines for, you know, minor confirmation, for reversals. And if we took our top right here and went all the way to the end of the day, we had a perfect reversal signal here, because the top first red candle through some lower high action here is going to give you the reversal times for the rest of the day. If you miss these trades, they will set up again, right? Bam, extend to the right. Now, usually I like to use the first half hours, excuse me, lower high off the first red candle. And you can see where both of these are going to line up here. This is more of a confirmation, safer play. Instead of, if you don't want to catch a bottom, I like catching the bottoms a lot of the times, especially in a downtrend, because it is getting super extended from the VWAP, the 200, the 100, and the 50. You know, it's just traveling down, 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 down. Eventually, it's going to find a major support line, which you're going to want to be paying attention to on your daily chart. This one found it at 202.25. So if you just would have swapped quick, and went, oh, I got major support at 202, you know, and a quarter. Where would that come from? I'm going to back up. I'm going to go to previous levels. And you're going to look at 202 and a quarter. And I bet you it's going to be pretty close to this guy right here. So this is where that huge interaction candle came back up, and a lot of people are anticipating this 202 bounce, I'm sure, right at the top of this candle for support. So that's kind of where it got sucked back up from, right? This 201.77 to that 202 and a quarter. That was kind of like the range. I like to give them a little bit of time to move when that stuff happens, you know. So that was the catch on that move on Apple. So let's do another one. Let's jump to Netflix. We'll do this one more time for you guys, so we can give you some confirmation on how to use the system a little bit. And with TOS kind of messing us up now, we're going to have to be clever with these better average lines. Pre-market highs, pre-market lows. Excuse me. Overall downtrend again here on Netflix. We're going to change our colors accordingly. You know what, we're not, because you guys know exactly what we're looking for. I'm going to save some time here, hop to the 4 hour. Now, a couple things are going to happen here in the Netflix trades. We do have some huge tops right here, but again, to create that better average, we're going to look for something, you know, really far away. Either, you know, this perfect double top right here or the all-time highs. A lot of the times, if it's a lot of red and chop up here, I do like to use the all-time highs. For this system. As we're coming down here, we see our pre-market channel. Zoom in here. I'm going to drop it on the first of the top of the pre-market channel right there. We have great rejection. We have great rejection. Big sword doji rejection. We have all sorts of fantastic rejection on this line. You know, good holds, good breaks, good rejections. This is a good, better average trend line, one that slices through all the other ones and gives us a lot of interaction. And what we're looking for is the algo is what they're looking for in the pre-market channel. So we have one that lined up quite nice here at the 4 hour, right? So, and that's where's our other one, right? We could scale it out. Oh, we only drew one. So let's draw our second one. Forgot that. We're gonna go back, and we got the top of the channel set there, and then we're gonna grab another one, and slide her through, and I'm gonna try to just catch that. The next closest nice interaction points I can find with this guy, right? So the pre-market tops here, pre-market bottoms here. I'm kind of liking, if I were to be looking at this at pre-market, I'd zoom back in. I know I have better average lines. We have good wick rejections here. A lot of slices through better average lines where the candles are going to be right where the wick connects to the body, right where the wick connects to the body. You know, shies, rejections. You know, look for the interaction points, right? And when you scale through the 1 day, 1 minute. You know, you got to mess with this a little bit because they're not going to give you to the penny. If it was that easy, this shit would be no problem, right? So we got our 4 hour trend lines. We got our pre-market channel. It's always a good idea to smack that opening price in there. It looks like it's 41 up here. That was a big leg spike. 341, 314, 63. So up here and trending down at open. So it's getting real farther away from that opening price line. It has broken down pretty much. Its opening price line is pretty much at our top of the pre-market channel. So it comes back down again, shows us this downtrend, all pre-market. So we're getting a little, you know, obviously bearish indication on it. So on the opening trade, we're going to look at the pre-market channel break. That's our first trade, right? Pre-market channel breaks. Goes down. If you miss the retracement, you just look for the confirmation of weakness. Apple kind of chops around here for a little bit, mess around with the 4 hour, but inevitably does fail. So it breaks down under the 4 hour, comes back up. Now we're looking for confirmation of weakness to the downside, right? Breaks the 4 hour, comes back over, snaps the 4 hour. We creating what? What is this right here? Lower lows. Look at that. You know, breaking lows. So already I'm having a bearish sentiment on this. It gets a retrace. One of the biggest things we look for is that first VWAP tag, right? Bam. And a perfect short. And if you needed any confirmation besides that, we have bam, 4 hour, bam, 4 hour, bam, 4 hour. So that 4 hour line right there, better average, is helping us with the confirmation, the first VWAP tag and the 50 EMA fail, you know, perfect short. And if you need even more confirmation, or you're having a hard time kind of gathering where the confirmation is coming from, you use your short-term trend lines off the first half hour. We have our tops right here. I'm going to slice it through our lower high, which is this red guy right here, which is going to give us a big old confirmation here. And then we're going to use a lower red here, slice it through a lower high, within the first half hour here. So we did create lower lows, so you would have to grab that short term. You could either use the short term wick right in front of it because it is nice and close. It's going to give you confirmation of weakness on the rollover there, and then you're going to use it if you wanted to on this little red guy right here, which would be somewhat of a true higher low, right? And it's just going to have you know, a big whipsaw to it because Apple likes to do that. But again, you have confirmation of weakness. If you did take this one off, clear up the image a little bit. All the indicators we have in the bubble we're looking at right here, not only do we have our pre-market channel bottom, which acts as resistance since we broke out of the pre-market channel. That's our blue line. We have our first red candle sliced through a lower high confirmation, creating a pocket wedge right here. And then we have our lowest red candle in the first half hour slicing through a higher low and giving you another confirmation of weakness if you were to happen to miss this channel break, which, I mean, no reason to miss this break to the low side because it was the low side of the channel the whole time, cracked under, and then just floated around here waiting for the moving averages to catch up and kind of weigh it down. So this was a minimal risk short for the whole pre-market settlement, right? So if you did miss the big one, the big drop on the first and cover your 3/4, you had a VWAP tag coming up right after that from a confirmation from your first red candle through lower high, and then you had a VWAP rejection, and then you had the 4-hour confirmation of weakness, right? Right on. Let's do one more real quick just so I can pound it into your head. 1 day, 1 minute, and we had to change this up a little bit because TOS's little mishap there. I contacted him and there's no way to fix the unsnap. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, I had it in my Windows 7 hacked version and it worked just fine. Little gap down here, tick right there, I'm going to ignore. I'm just going to use the channels here so I get it nice and tight on AMD. I'm going to hop to the 4-hour. We're going to jump into the trends and what it's going to give us. We can use the high here. I see our tight little channel right there. Kind of like a little doji action there in the 4-hour, so I'm going to put it through the top better average line, or closest I can get to it. That one was not a good snap, so we're going to remove that. And one of the easier ways, if you're having troubles in like the long gist of the map here, where you're like, I can't really, you know, dial it in, you can start a trend line and then roll your cursor over in the ball, like on if you have a scroll ball, and that will move the chart over, maintaining the snap of the line, and you can draw it through that 4-hour line best you can on the chart. So this one is sliced through, it's a tad low, but doesn't have to be through the penny, right? We're going to look back, we're going to see what kind of interaction we got. Right away we have this nice test of support, a couple of support holds there, we have lots of rejection, huge squeeze here on our line. Look at, I would like if it was down to the penny here, we have some nice interaction here, rejection, rejection. So a better average line is set on the 4-hour. I'm going to edit those properties. I'm going to use 1 for this one just because we're going to dial it in a little bit easier. We're going to you know, see what's going on in our first candle, opening price, etc., etc. So we have 1 4-hour overlay that's helping us dictate the structure of the trade. We're going to go right to our short-term trend lines. We're going to grab the highest red. We're going to strike it through a lower high. We're going to grab our lowest, this guy. I like this wick, so I'm going to extend it to the right. I'm going to take the low as well here and give it to another like true lower high. And AMD is real grindy here, so it didn't give us great puts on a lower high. Like, this is okay. We extend it to the right, and there's no harm in creating a few of these. These sharp ones like this will really help you with the weakness of the rollover of the stock, if it is pulling back or not. But we do pretty much have a few interaction points. There's a short, but AMD looked pretty strong all day, so the play here would obviously be long. Out the gate short, let's go over the plays and use these trend lines because these are what it's going to focus on, because these are the best setups, these are the best lineups. You can just tell with your eyes, right? So in the pre-market channel, we got our 4-hour here. It's going to act as support on the first 1-minute candle. It's going to come down, hit that, pop back up, get rejected by the 50 EMA and the 100. Looking good. Everything is kind of rolling over. Again, you're paying attention to the SPY the whole time you're doing this. So if you were looking at SPY today, which I didn't get to trade today, but you can see how it had a 200 EMA rejection and a double top to fail. So you would have been anticipating these bear market moves. These overlays are really just going to help you put confirmation in your trade. It's great for a lot of new traders. So First candle opens up, access support, pre-market low channel here, access support, comes up, gets a nasty, dirty rejection, breaks the 4-hour trend again, comes back up. Again, we always look for that first VWAP interaction. There it is, right there. Not only did we reject it in the first 3-4 minutes here of the 100 and the 50, we came back up, tested VWAP. This is a limited risk short. We have the 200 weighing it down, the 100 and the 50, and our 4-hour right here, anticipating it's going to confirm its weakness. So what does it do? Snaps back up, hits pretty much the split candle resistance just under, where these two guys whipsawed a little bit in the first open candles, the first two in the 1 minute, one day chart, came back down, hit that pre-market resistance again, interacted with our 4-hour line, ultimately failed it, came back down. Oh, great. If you missed it, you wait for the lower high setup if you want to relong it. Comes back down, you missed the whole thing. Okay, comes back into VWAP for its first retracement into VWAP right here. You can take another short here, triple top on the 1 minute to the 50 EMA rejection, and now you have a nice lower high, right, to slice your first red through. So you're going to wait for a reversal play, always off the top of the first red through a lower high. You're going to come through, and the time frames, a lot of you guys know this because we've been through private lessons, is 9:30. We're going to be watching that like a hawk, like always. We can use our lower line for confirmation as well. Pretty much here, right? This is what you're going to want to look for. We're getting sucked up here, and then as it tests the trend, the idea on this trade for the long side is it puts in this bottom at 2011. You're going to be watching again your long-term support. So this was the low. Why did we hit a low there? I have no idea. Let's pop to the 4-hour and the daily and check it out. Here's the low on that doji. Take a peek back here. Lo and behold, this candle right here at 2015. That's obviously going to be your huge support interaction today. After you had a hard time getting over it, snapped over it. Previous resistance becomes new support. Bam, bam. That's where it bounced. That's why it bounced. You are going to have these support and resistance lines set out on your charts to help you with your 4-hour overlay and pre-market channels. Always use a 4-hour and the daily for previous support and resistance plays, right? So we nailed that to the T. We know exactly where the support is. This could have been a blind long off a higher low right here because of how much support it had right in that 2015 range. So it pops up using your short-term red line, comes back up, has a little weakness, comes down, creating higher lows all the way back up, but you already have this line set coming up here because of this red candle, right? Pops up, out of the channel, comes back down. Here's your confirmation of strength. You hear me say that a lot. When I wait for the stocks to really prove themselves, because we are under VWAP, we are under the 50, the confirmation would be to create yet another higher low on the way up right here, and here it was. So if you missed the train and didn't want to get in here, I suggest getting in here because it's limited risk, right? Don't always assume something is going to crack lows when that happens, because the SPY, as it's selling off, you got to think, you got to use all your other indicators like, okay, the SPY, the Amazon news with AMD, the major support AMD is running into. This wasn't going to sell off totally with SPY. So as it had a great retracement, a couple nice short plays on the front side here, or in the first half hour. Did have a nice long play here, a lot of indicators to help you out to the long side. We're going to strike our low, or we're going to keep drawing arrows. And extend that to the right. See what that gives us. There's our short signal. So again, if you miss the trades, these things will set up again. Quit jumping in and scalping every 10 cents. You don't need to do that. Here's a short confirmation. Every time you find the lowest red candle of the day and you slice it through a nice higher low, something like this, and then it's going to correlate later on in the day sometime, even if it doesn't happen right away. If you get something like this and you just extend it to the right, a lot of the time, if you see the stock starting to pop up and then consolidate, obviously it hit our pre-market channel here, messed around in the pre-market channel. That was its resistance. That was a big support resistance. It's our pre-market channel. So as it ran through it and we got higher lows, recovered the 200 EMA right here, ran back up, came back down, bam, lower high. What else are we messing around with right here? The trend. We broke over the trend, tested. Okay, this is a lower high right here, trend test, and this is where I'd start looking short. My eyes are going to try to pick this up where it's extended from the 9. We're getting a little extended from the 50 right here. See that gap, we're running away, getting real far away from the 200. Don't even talk about how far away it is from the VWAP, right? Super far. It's about time for a relax. New time comes in, has this nice little final pop. into resistance. If we look at the previous day, we're going to kind of chart out where that resistance was from. You can easily see it on the previous day. End of the day lows there, and after hours, there was always going to be some congestion coming up once it broke out of the pre-market channel a little bit here. It had overhead resistance, and when something gets extended so far at the VWAP or the 200 or any of the moving averages, it's going to run into its first resistance here it can, and then come back down. So using our first red candle system and slicing that through, we'd already picked the top. This line was drawn from these two candles. You know what I mean? We had the top at 917. Now where this thing was going to roll over and give us a nice little short play. So gave it a short, messed around in pre-market channel, broke. You could have rode this thing all the way down as everything started to close back up. You're noticing here, right? As these EMAs get extended into the downside, as this big spread is happening, as it creates a lower high off that big spread, and you could have took it a short anywhere in here and just risked highs at this point because of how extended it was. They all started closing up, right? And then closing up. And as they the 9 comes back down, it fails the 50, 100, and 200. We're still looking good. Comes all the way down to the pre-market low channel before it bounces. And not only that, you could easily try to pick up some of the old supports that it had on the 200 EMA. Previous highs, previous resistance becomes new support. So this 2060s area would have been a nice long if you wanted to. And if you just could have rode this short down, you had an easy trade there. On the confirmation week, they say you got filled in a little late and you wanted to wait till it really started consolidating into the trend line, creating lower highs. And you snagged it on that last big drop through the 200 EMA right here, and you covered down here. Yeah, that's a quarter, it's 25 cents, and on AMD being a cheap stock, that's not bad at all. That's a nice little scoop, So these plays well set up. This is a little insight on the 4-hour trend. A bunch of examples I can give you. That's all I got for you guys today. I hope this helps. Let me know some feedback.